Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. This is Reading with Your Kids. We are beaming out to you and the rest of the planet from the beautiful book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston. Our mission, it's simple, to help families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Audible, Player FM, YouTube. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Really wonderful show for you today. First up, Ruth Maille returns to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate her new certified great read picture book, The Power of Encouragement, Turning I Can't into I Can. And later in the show, Janet Lawler will be here to celebrate her new board book. It's called Who's Hiding Under the Sea? This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by the Fred the Snake series, written by Dr. Peter Cotton. I just got back from the COSPA National Education Conference. 1,500 school leaders from across the country. And I have to tell you, one of the biggest smiles at our booth came from a little snake named Fred. We were sharing the Fred the Snake book series, and again, superintendents and educators were drawn in by the bright, colorful illustration. They'd pick up a book, start flipping through it, and you could just see it. They got it. These are the kinds of stories kids want to read. But you know what really stopped them in their tracks? When I told them that the author, Dr. Peter Cotton, was a world-renowned gastroenterologist and teacher before he began writing children's books. And suddenly it clicked. Here's someone who spent a lifetime helping people, now using the same care, the same curiosity to create stories that help kids feel brave, welcome, and excited to learn. The Fred the Snake series now includes 10 wonderful adventures, from getting mended to going to school to exploring cities and beaches with friends, and every one of them is filled with heart, humor, and connection. We loved having Dr. Peter on Reading with Your Kids, and I can tell you, educators at the COSPA conference love Fred the Snake just as much as we do. So if you're looking for stories your kids will laugh with, learn from, and want to read again and again, meet Fred the Snake. Because with Fred the Snake, the real magic happens when we choose kindness and become a friend. Before we invite our guest into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. The Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. Joining us right now, one of my favorite guests coming to us from the beautiful state of Rhode Island. She is back to celebrate her brand new picture book. It is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read, The Power of Encouragement, turning I Can't into I Can. Please welcome back to the show, Ruth Maille. Ruth, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me, Jed. I really appreciate being on and sharing this.
Love having you. This is book number 6 in the Power of series, and what a great series it is. I believe every one of the books are certified great reads. Our team of reviewers love the book. They love the illustrations. They love the stories. And one of the things that was that one of the reviewers said was that they really loved the part where the kids in the story come to realize that the word courage is part of the word encouragement.
Yes. And that was purposely done. I wanted them to actually relate to both words. Those two are big words. So for young preschoolers or a 4 or 5 year old, they probably don't know what they are, but I feel like it just makes the word encouragement mean more. It has a more powerful impact. And it was kind of like I played with it in the story, like, Orbit has like a special secret kind of thing. So it was really a fun part of it. This book, I really added a lot more laughter to it, a lot more cuteness to it, I guess, than my previous ones.
They are really cute, and Orbit is a great. How would you describe Orbit visually? Because I think he's a great character.
So he's supposed to be the earth, and he's supposed to be traveling the earth, spreading kindness, gratitude, all of the character traits that I'm writing about. And he was born, obviously, in the pandemic, and he has a Band-Aid on his head. And children relate to Band-Aids in a lot of different ways. Originally, when I wrote my first book, he was supposed to be like, the Band-Aid was supposed to represent the world healing, right? We're all supposed to be, coming back from the pandemic and just, making the world a better place. As the books have evolved, more and more kids relate to it as, oh, I have a boo-boo, so therefore I can fix it with what I'm learning in this book. So it gives me more of a visual for them. Okay, there's a Band-Aid on his head, and he's supposed to be representing the earth, but he's also supposed to be acknowledging the fact that we all make mistakes. We're not perfect. We need to be able to take these topics and engage with them so that we have a bigger picture and have more ability to be kind or to be grateful for things or to encourage other children or to respect one another. And I think that he comes across as being the teacher, but the teacher with curiosity. I think that's the key. I get a lot of reviews that say, you're giving a voice to the children, because all of those examples from the books are from real live children. They're from children that I deal with on a day-to-day basis or I've researched with. And so Orbit asks the questions, and then he waits to see what they have to say. And I think a lot of children, when they're reading the book, they look at it and they go, oh, I see myself in that book. Oh, I was in a soccer team, on a soccer team, and we weren't doing so well. But when we realized we were a team and we had to work with each other and we had to encourage each other, it turned the whole game around. We didn't win, but we had fun and we encouraged one another as a team. Yeah. So I think that's Orbit's role in this journey.
Yeah. Now, you were telling me before we hit record that this book, The Power of Encouragement, was actually inspired by something one of the kids in your daycare said.
Yeah, so I still keep in contact with a lot of my children. I mean, I've been a preschool teacher, daycare provider for 35 years now. And I have some children that are children of children that I had. And this one little girl, Natalie, is by far one of the most funkiest children that I've ever had. I love her to death. And she came to me. Her sister was one of the girls that came last year in The Power of Respect. And they helped write that book because they had difficulty going to school and realizing that I can be friends with everybody. I don't have to just have one BFF. Well, Natalie was a little bit, I don't want to say jealous, but I want to say that she wanted to experience what the other two experienced. So she came to me and she said, Miss Ruth, I really think that we could write a book about encouragement because that's a really important part of children's lives. And I have to agree with her. I think that after I did a bunch of research, there's not a lot of books out there that talk about encouragement. And when you acknowledge and appreciate and encourage another child or another adult, you get so much more from that person and you feel so much better. So it really turned into this beautiful experience for both Natalie and myself, where we worked together, on writing the book. Okay, let's start with ideas. And we went that route. And then we decided, okay, what do our illustrations want to look like? And so we wrote down what we thought our illustrations needed to look like. Where do we get these examples? And she gave me a whole bunch of examples. We asked some of the other kids. And then we put it all together, and we had to edit and edit. This one I probably edited the most because there was so much information, and I wanted it to be I as a teacher, I tend to layer when I'm teaching my children. I tend to layer things on top of one another so that they understand it better. And as each layer gets put on, they get more depth into it. And that's how I realize that's how I write. So a lot of times children know if you're dumbing down things to them, and that's not something I ever want to do. So I'm very honest when I write, and I wanted it to be simple enough for a 4-year-old, but also smart enough for an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old to get the message. And so between Natalie and I and all of our ideas, we basically came up with the whole concept of the book. And it was really wonderful.
Yeah. That must be a lot of fun, kind of co-writing this with one of your kids.
Yeah. And Natalie's only 9. She's only 9 years old. So she really embraced it, and she had some great ideas. And there were some times when I was like, I don't know if that's going to work, sweetie. And she's like, all right, well, let's think of something else. Like, she never get her down. She's a happy little girl. And she related a lot to, this book because she's a gymnast, and there were a lot of things she couldn't do, and she just kept trying and trying and trying. And she even said that when she had a really good coach that encouraged her, she could accomplish way more than when she had a coach that she ended up being nervous because she wasn't doing what the coach wanted her to do. So I think that her whole idea was brilliant, and one that has been received really well in the short time that it's been out, which it was only published February 17th, I think it was, of this year. So, yeah.
You know, your story about, I think it was Natalie's sisters learning that I don't have to have just one BFF. I remembered a moment when my daughter was in, I think, 3rd grade. And I used to tell this story to kids all the time. And she literally had, one kid came up, I want you to be my best friend, but don't talk to so-and-so. And the other one came up, don't. And my daughter's, on her own, just said to them, like, I don't want a best friend. I want to talk to everybody. And if you're not cool with that, then go away. I'm okay.
Right. And that's very much like Natalie. Natalie is very much like that child. Like, okay, here's what I am, who I am. And if you like me, you like me. And if you don't, you don't. It's okay. I don't need to be everybody's best friend, but I will be your friend, but you're not going to tell me what I can and can't do. And I love the spunk of that. And I say it's spunky because she's got this aura about her that's very special. And she's everybody's, she loves everybody, she'll come back to the daycare and be with the kids, and she's just very gentle, very sweet, very kind, very loving. So this book really came from her heart as well as my heart.
That's great.
Yeah.
One of the things I love, you were mentioning that encouragement and courage, they're big words that kids might not understand. And I imagine there might be somebody out there listening saying, well, I'm not going to get that book because respect, gratitude, positivity, these aren't 4-year-old words. And that might be right. But picture books are meant to be read by an adult. They're meant so that when there's a word that the kid doesn't understand, the adult is there to explain it to them. That's,
Yeah, and see, Orbit does a really good job at asking the kids, okay, so what do you think encouragement means? What do you think courage means? And then he elaborates on it so that they get more of the message. Just like the second book I wrote was kindness, right? Well, where do you see kindness in your life? And that makes the kids start to really think, okay, where do I see encouragement in my life? Oh, well, you know what? I didn't do so great on that test, but boy, my mom and dad said, at least I tried, right? And a lot of times, one of the other things that I really was adamant about in this book was the phrase turning I can't into I can. Because a lot of children say, I can't. And when you can encourage them and say, yes, you can. You know what? All you have to do is try. And even if you don't make it, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect. And I think that's probably a book that's going to be written in the future, because I really feel like kids think that they need to be perfect in everything. And you don't. You're going to have something special about you that somebody else cannot do. There could be a child that can't do gymnastics, literally does not have the desire to or the passion to. And so if you can turn an I can't into I can, that's a win, right? For any child, regardless of whether it's a sport or whether it's a test or whether it's somebody just cheering another child up during the day. You know, like they see somebody sitting by themselves and they're like, well, I can't go join that group. Yes, you can. Come on, let's go join that group. It doesn't have to be anything, monumental. It's just, it's all about putting all of these topics together and overlapping them, and making them a part of your life. So you try to be kind. You try to be grateful. When I wrote the gratitude book, we had a whole month in November where we did every single day was a different letter, because that was an ABC book. And we did a different letter. And then the kids had to come up with that letter for the day of other words that they were grateful for and why. And at the end of November, one of my little girls, Rosie, said to me, I think we should do gratitudes every day. And I said, why? And she said, because it just made me feel better every day. So 3 years later, every lunch, my preschoolers will say, it's time to do our gratitudes. What are we grateful for today? And those neurons start to connect, and they start to see the gratitude. So say it's, say our snowstorm that we just had, right? That was huge. It was a blizzard, right? What was something I had asked the kids, what was something you were grateful for? And one of my kids, who's like 5 years old, but he's got an older brother, and he's got his parents are a little bit older and lived through the 78 blizzard, said, we don't have to listen to mom and dad say the last blizzard was 1978. Something as simple as that. So I think that if you keep introducing these things to children, it's going to become second nature to them, because these are all learned things that they have to learn, not that it's instinctual.
And I believe we talked about this when we celebrated the power of gratitude. That is something I think is so important, because we know science has proven that kids, adults who live gratefully are happier, they're healthier, they can endure pain longer. It's so many of these, of this common sense knowledge, or knowledge that's been passed down over the eons. Now we're finding out through science. It's like, it's right.
Yeah. And if you keep on looking for the good in the world, we have to have some of the bad stuff that happens to us, because then we can't appreciate the goodness, right? So, and we learn from those things. So in my life, there's been a lot of things that, I would have rather not gone through, but I did, and I learned from them. And if you can say that, what do I learn from this situation? That's what I try to say to myself all the time. And I try to teach the kids, well, what can we learn from that? What can we learn? I have a little one right now who's constantly stepping on the magnet tiles. She's only 2. She doesn't understand, but the 4 and 5-year-olds are getting mad because they're building these beautiful things and she's knocking them down. But she just thinks it's funny. And I say to them all the time, well, the good thing about that is that you get to rebuild it again, and it might be better the next time. So I do think that all of these things are important topics. And I think that if you can sit down with your child and read the book and stop along the pages and talk about the different situations, like, have you ever felt like, one of the examples in the book is, a little boy couldn't blow bubbles under the water. So there's a picture of Dominic, and you see the vantage point of looking up at him while he's blowing bubbles, and the swim instructors above him cheering him on. And swimming is a really scary thing to do, right? Going underwater. And we have a swim program at the summertime in my preschool. And I remember that being one of the things. One of my kids was afraid to blow bubbles. And the swim instructor that I hired worked patiently with him, and he accomplished it. And he felt so good about himself.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what encouragement's about, right? It's building your courage inside of you, and you're accomplishing something, and you're feeling good about yourself, and you're proud.
Yeah. Yeah. Tommy, you mentioned that you've been a daycare provider, a preschool teacher for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
Have kids changed in that time?
I don't necessarily think that they've changed. I think that times have changed. Mm-hmm. And I think that the way parenting has changed, good and bad, right? Mm-hmm. There's some things that, I mean, I do think that boundaries are extremely important for children. I think when you take away boundaries, you're taking their safety rope away, right? Boundaries are put in place so that they do feel safe. So, you know, I do think that aspect of it has changed. I do think that we have more dads involved, which makes me so happy. Mm-hmm. When I first started 35 years ago, I had no dads that dropped off daycare, no dads that picked up daycare and or preschool. And over the years, it's gotten more. Grandparents are more involved. So I think in that aspect, I think those things are wonderful things, because I think it's really important to get everybody involved and it not just fall on just the mom, because now a lot of moms are working. And so you've got to divvy that up. I also see how much more, how children are happier when they have both the parents, one of them picking up and knowing that the next one's going to pick them up, or sharing things when they walk through the door. So I think that it's the times that have really changed, not necessarily children, because children are just, they're curious little people that love to find out things. And I do think that one of the things I know when I was growing up, I heard a lot of children are to be seen and not heard. Mm-hmm. And I think that's changed a lot, where children do want to be heard. Yeah. But ultimately, it's the parents that needs to make the final choice, because you wouldn't let a child run out into the street. So if they wanted, I want to go out and play in the street, you're not going to let them do that. So that part of it, yeah, you can be heard, you can have choices. But I think parents have to be parents too, in order to provide that boundary and that safety for them.
Yeah. Tell me, what's it like now that you're the author of 6 award-winning books, and so you're literally teaching kids all over the country, possibly all over the world. Have you? I know you have relationships with the kids who have been in your daycare program, and so you understand that you've been making an impact on those kids. Have you taken the time to sit down and think, wow, I'm actually making an impact on kids, thousands of kids all across the country, all across the world?
I think that's what drives me, is to be able to help children get these topics and understand them. I've done some school visits, and I love going in, because kids, they're so curious, and they've got so many great questions. And when I see them, like I went into one school, and one of my old daycare kids was in that class, and I didn't recognize him, because he was, he was a couple of years older. I hadn't seen him in a while. And I remember one of the other kids saying, "You know her?" like, you know her? And he's like, yeah, I was in her daycare and preschool. And it made me think, wow, like, yeah, I am touching the kids that were in my hands. But I also feel like, yes, there are kids that I meet in craft shows that, love my characters and will see me again and say, I have your book. I have your kindness book. So I don't look at it as a starstruck thing or as like I'm anything special. I look at it as I just helped that child, right? I just, shared with him a passion that I have. And he really enjoyed it, or he got something out of that book, or, he's telling me, or a parent's telling me like, oh yeah, my child said I can't. And then this happened on Saturday. The woman said, we bought your book a couple of weeks ago from school, because it was a school visit, and we caught him saying, I can't. And they go, no, Orbit says I can, and I will. So I feel like that there's a lot of avenues that's helping these kids, not just by my words, but just by the stories and the pictures, because illustrations make a book as well. And there's a lot of things that you look at in the picture that you don't have to write in words that you can come across. So, yeah.
What's next?
I don't know yet. I'm not sure, because we just started, like, this one just got out there. So now it's all marketing and, which is not my forte, so to speak. So I have to rely on you guys. But I don't know. There's a couple of topics that I think are important, but I might collaborate with, one of my other kids or something and see what they think is out there, because truly and honestly, they've got the best ideas. They really do. Give me the topic and I can run with it. But yeah, they have the best ideas. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, you have an open invitation to come back when that book is available. In the meantime, let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the power of encouragement, turning I can't into I can.
Well, they can go to my website, which is ruthmaille-author.com. And your beautiful song, thank you so much for that. I was blown away. The kids loved it on the school visit that I went to. Everybody that hears it, they get up and they dance. And although the fourth and fifth graders were a little too cool to get up and dance, but they were bebopping in their chairs. But so that was really cool. That was such a fun little extra that I didn't expect. So thank you. That was great. So yeah, they can get on my website. So your music is on the website, with, the video, and, all the books are there. And, there's also a bunch of different articles and things like that. I'm trying to get better at blogging and stuff. So in my spare time.
Yes. Which you don't have very much of.
Right. Exactly.
We've had a great.
And the other thing too is all of my craft shows will be on there, is on my website now. So that's a new thing I just started. So all my craft shows will be out on there. So if you're looking to find me in person, they'll be able to find me there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of The Power of Encouragement, Turning I Can't into I Can. Our guest has been Ruth Maille. Hey, Ruth, thanks so much for being back on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you. I love your show and I love being here. So thank you for the invite.
Hey, during the interview, you might have heard Ruth mention the great song that the team here at Reading with Your Kids created for her certified great read book, The Power of Encouragement. I thought we'd let you give a listen to it right now. It's called You Can Do It.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah. Whoa. Sometimes I feel a little small, like I might not try at all. I can do this, starts to say, but then I hear a voice my way. You got this, give it a try. Take a breath, reach for the sky. Those little words, they light the spark. They turn a whisper into a roar inside my heart. When I feel scared, when I feel stuck, when I feel like I'm out of love, feel you can do it, you can try. Lift your head up, reach up high. From I can to I can. Someone smiled and said that's okay. Let's just try again today. Fell off my bike, scraped my knee. Didn't think I'd ever be brave enough to try once more, but encouragement opened up the door. When I feel lost, when I feel low, someone helps me start to grow. You can do it. You can try it. Lift your head up, reach up high. From I can to I can. That's the power in your head. Who gives courage? Kids, we do. When we say I believe in you, it's true. What's inside in courage, courage. Say it loud so the world can hear it. Courage. Feel you can do it. Shout it out. Let's fill the world with a cheer so loud. Every voice, every kid, there's so much good inside what you did. You can do it. Yes, you can. Take a step, take a stand. When we lift each other to it, that's the magic. You can do it. Ha!
Join us right now from the great state of Connecticut. Our guest is here today to celebrate her new board book. It's called Who's Hiding Under the Sea? My tongue seems to be hiding somewhere. Welcome to the show, Janet Lawler. Janet, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Jed, for having me on today.
Delighted to have you on. Boy, Who's Hiding Under the Sea? What a fun topic to read about with your little ones.
I think so. I'm fascinated by the ocean, actually, and pretty much any part of the natural world. So this book, Who's Hiding Under the Sea, is early nonfiction for the littlest children because kids are curious about the world from the earliest days, as whenever they're outside to see a bug or see a bird. And I grew up in Milford, which is down by the shore in Connecticut, and spent quite a bit of time along the ocean. I used to go fishing with my dad. And so Who's Hiding Under the Sea is a lift the flap book. So it's interactive. Kids get to lift what is a really sturdy flap after reading. There's a poem in rhyme about each ocean animal. And a question, it's in the first person, so then the question is, who am I on the flap? And the child can lift the flap and get the answer, as well as an interesting nonfiction fact. And the poems are really short for this age group, and there's one simple fact. So it's a lot of fun.
Very cool. I am thinking back to when my son was fit on my lap and we would read together. This would be right up his alley.
It's funny you should say that because this book had its genesis really with me reading to my son is now 38. And when he loved ocean animals, so I actually started writing a different version of this probably 20 some years ago. And I had poems about a lot of different ocean animals, and the book was called Ocean Oddities because it was all the different characteristics of these animals. And once Phaedon acquired that manuscript, my publisher, we went through several iterations and ultimately decided on a very young version where we have 6 animals and 6 of the poems with these facts. And I'm delighted with how it turned out.
Yeah. Janet was showing me before we hit record here, there's lots of bright colors and shiny, and it looks really tactile.
It is. The illustrator, James Weston Lewis, has done a fantastic job, and the designer and the publisher have put together a very appealing, the cover is got really sparkly. I don't know what the material is, but it's a sparkle, so it really is eye-catching, and you can feel the texture of the very lovely little puffer fish that is on the cover. And then within the book, the the flaps are really sturdy. That's the one thing I want to emphasize. It's hard. I know when I am reading to the very young, it's always like, are they old enough for the flaps? And this flap has been tested because I have my advanced copy, and my 9-month-old granddaughter has read this several times, and she's done a hefty pull on these flaps, and they've survived.
Yeah, yeah. One of the neat things about a board book is that kids really consume them. You know, they chomp on the
Yes.
corners, and they.
Yep. Well, this is a durable cardboard, and hopefully they won't eat off the poems as they're looking at it.
So, what are the 6 creatures we're going to meet in the book?
Well, the 6 creatures are the seahorse, the clownfish, the starfish, the pufferfish, the jellyfish, and the blue whale. And since I don't want to read the whole book, but when a book is this short, obviously, theoretically, I could while we're chatting. But I'll just read the sea star to you.
Okay.
No need for alarm if I break off an arm. I can make a new start by regrowing that part. And then the question is, who am I? I'm a sea star. Did you know I can grow a new arm called a ray if one breaks off? So that's the pretty much the length and the quality of the poem and the fact for each animal.
Yeah, neat. Now, whose idea was it to come up with the flap and the fact along with the poem?
Actually, that came from the publisher. The manuscript that I submitted was a full 32-page picture book for an older audience. And I had, some of my poems were what's called concrete poems in writer's language. For example, the jellyfish was, you would see the dome of the jellyfish, and it was drifting, deadly, dangling, stinging, stunning, entangling, and those words were coming down off the jellyfish body. So it was very appealing in a wholly different way, and they actually really liked this project, but then they struggled with where it was going to fit within their plans for the age groups that they publish. And so it kept morphing. So we ended up they ended up suggesting this approach, and I had to be willing to let go of several of my poems and the approach I had, because I had literally a significant number of facts for each of the animals that we obviously aren't in this book. But to make a long story a little bit shorter, we had a very good working relationship, and they basically ceded back to me the rights to that original manuscript, because I had so many animals that I can still do a whole picture book with the rest of them. And hopefully that will happen someday, maybe not.
You know, it's interesting. I think one of the neat things about reading with your kids is that I've gotten to learn about a lot about the children's book industry and how kids' books are made. And some of the things are really surprising. For example, I was blown away when I discovered that with traditional publishers, there's very little, if any, contact between the author and the illustrator. There's this great big firewall. I was completely shocked when I had the publisher of Familius Publishing on, and he told me it can take 3, 4, 5 years from the time I purchase a manuscript to the time a book hits the shelf. And I'm like, that's the most difficult part of publishing for me, is how long everything takes because I write primarily picture books. My audience is pretty much 0 to 8, 9. And it does. My first book was 4 years. Actually, some of them are 15 years from my idea, but even entering into the process with the publisher is 4 years, 3 years. 2 is really quick. And then I found it early on difficult to not have, I always had an idea of what my book is going to look like, but you don't. I describe the picture book process as a linear collaboration from my viewpoint, because my text gets
passed forward through to the illustrator. But it makes a lot of sense because I'm creative, but my creativity comes through in words. I think in words, and illustrators think visually, and they have invariably come up with art that I would never have envisioned. And I usually do take a bit of time to say, oh, I really love this, but it's never what I envisioned.
Yeah, yeah. And in even needing to be flexible, as you were saying, for taking a manuscript that you anticipated would be a picture book and then coming back and saying, okay, we can do it as a board book.
Yeah, that was a tough process, but I am thrilled with how this book came out, and I think kids are going to really enjoy it. And I think I wish when my kids were younger, because they're both young adults now, that there was more early nonfiction, because there really wasn't what we now have today, a lot more early nonfiction for little ones, which I think that's in an entertaining way, but very informative. And I'm happy to be part of that process with my books.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me, what is it about nonfiction that you enjoy so much?
I guess it's just that I'm so curious about nature, and the more I read and learn about any particular animal or natural process, I'm just fascinated by how it all works. And so, I just think I've written a couple books for National Geographic, and then I have a book called Walrus Song that's about walruses. I have a book coming out that I don't have a pub date for about capybaras, which is also very interesting. So every time I do any research, it's like, wow, this kind of creature does this. And I was always interested as a child. My dad was kind of a naturalist, and we did a lot of time outdoors. I didn't mind holding a snake when I was a little girl. I knew it was a garden snake. I wouldn't hold a dangerous one.
Probably wise.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm on your website and I'm looking at the your rainforest book that you created for National Geographic, and I have a picture of that big blue butterfly sitting on my shoulder.
Really?
Down in Costa Rica.
In the
rainforest in Costa Rica.
That's on my bucket list, and I don't know, it's getting less likely that I'll get there, but that's something I always wanted to do.
Costa Rica is absolutely beautiful. The people are wonderful, and like I said, being out in the rainforest, I'm looking at that picture right now. Being out. And let me tell you a quick story, because I'm looking at the picture I was telling you about with this butterfly on my shoulder. And right next to it is another picture. We're on a tour of the rainforest, and we had a great guide. And kind of like me, I was the only one who could spot the mantis. He was trying to point to me. Oh, there's a mantis, that stick-looking thing.
Yes.
And so he would show me a bunch of different things. And I was really having fun, but we were on a path, and it wasn't like we're in the jungle. I kind of wanted to sneak away. And I think the guide kind of sensed that. And he said, Senor, see that leaf there? I goes, this one? He goes, yeah, just lift that up. And I lifted it up. And he said, that's a python. They're all over the place. And I'm like, what?
Oh my goodness. Oh my.
I'm staying with you.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so it's we'll share that after we say goodbye.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's and I'm really delighted now. Here I'm almost 100 years old, and I still get excited about these things. Imagine how wonderful it is when you have a being on your lap that almost everything they're experiencing is new to them. They're experiencing for the first time. They're seeing this picture of the pufferfish for the very first time. How cool is that.
Exactly. And you can see the wheels turning as they're looking as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those form the basis for, family adventures, to maybe see those animals in real life.
Yeah. 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 One of the things we always try to do with our kids, if we knew we were going to the aquarium or the zoo, we kind of try to prepare for it, and read a book about the ocean and the fish. So when we got to the aquarium, my kids weren't just running from one thing to another. There was actually, hey, chill out. What are we seeing here? And my son would take great pride. Oh, that's a pufferfish, and this and that. And would all remember all the different facts that he learned. And boy, that's a great. Imagine. I don't know if you've had time to think about this, Janet, but imagine your book could be launching the career of the next oceanographer.
I hope so. I do hope so. Because I think books are a great avenue into future careers, and I think those little seeds start very early. Yeah. My son actually loved bugs, and he loved freshwater bugs, and we had a pond down at the nearby school, and we would bring back, the whatever was swimming down there for a day, and then bring it back and study it. And I took him down to meet at Southern Connecticut State College at the time, a freshwater entomologist as a possible career path. And he did end up with a PhD in biochemistry, but he went in a different direction. But the sciences were always his route.
You did something that I did too, which is introduce my kids when they were young to, like you see, an entomologist. I introduced my kids to business leaders, and it kind of sounds crazy when you think about it, but these people who run industries and are so knowledgeable, I found that they always really enjoyed meeting my kids and sharing this and getting them excited about what it is they do.
Yeah, I think that's. I wished I'd had some more of that when I was young. Actually, I just always loved school. Yeah. I actually practiced law for 15 years before I started writing children's books.
How much more fun is it writing kids' books than legal briefs?
I can't tell you. And I can tell lawyer jokes now, People react a lot better when I say I'm a children's author than a lawyer.
Yes. Amen. Have you thought about writing a nonfiction book about the law, introducing kids to the legal system?
No, I don't think I would do that.
Okay.
I think it would be too much putting myself back in shoes I don't want to be in anymore. To be perfectly honest.
Well, I love your honesty. That's, no, I'm not going back.
Really?
I've been there, done that.
What I can do is say, well, at least I could read my contracts and realize that, this is, maybe I could lose my house if I have to sign these hold harmless clauses, but that's okay because I just want my book published.
Hey, is there something, is there a subject, kind of like a dream subject for a book that you haven't gotten around to working on yet?
Yes, I don't have. I just work on a book whenever something captures my imagination. So I don't put it on hold, although I do sometimes come up with a title or an idea and don't have the book yet. So I kind of did that with capybaras. I find them very interesting. So I ended up writing that book. But I'm thinking about the axolotl. Have you ever heard of an axolotl?
I think so. Those are the teeny-weeny creatures?
Yeah, they're little cute aquatic. They're like half salamander looking. Mm-hmm. They don't quite finish morphing. So they're very cute. And they're actually in a river in Mexico is their sole habitat. So, but I write a lot in rhyme and trying to think of how I could put axolotl in a rhyme. I've got a couple of titles for the book, but I don't have the story yet.
Okay.
I was going to share them with you, but I don't think I will.
Okay. That's no worries at all. No worries at all. We have, one of our past guests, Helen Wu, she came up with a capybara, character, and now it's all over t-shirts, all throughout Asia.
Yeah, I know. It's that as we talk about how long it takes, I've been trying to get this book out to the world for a few years, and I think it's now in the final editing place, but the illustrator still has to do all the art, so it's still going to be a while. But I don't think that popularity will decline, so I'm hoping,
No, not at all.
hoping it'll be cresting when my book comes out.
Yeah. Hey, let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Who's Hiding Under the Sea and find out more about you.
Okay. Just my website is my name, Janet Lawler, and it's Lawler. And on the website, it's easy to look at all my books under the book heading. There's fiction and nonfiction, and this book is under the nonfiction section, novelties. And you can, for every book that I've written that's up there, there's links to the bookshop where you can find your local independent bookstore, or Amazon or Barnes & Noble to get the books. Also, off my homepage, I actually have a local independent bookstore, Riverbend Books in West Hartford, and people that order from them, I can actually inscribe and autograph the books, and they can be mailed to people anywhere.
Very good.
So
that's cool.
That's that.
Yeah.
And I also have a Facebook page, and I'm on Instagram, although I'll be honest, I don't post as often as I should there, but it's a great spot for visuals.
Yeah.
And that's Janet Lawler, kids author.
Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Who's Hiding Under the Sea. It's a great new board book from our guest, Janet Lawler. Janet, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you so much, Jen. It was my pleasure. Have a great afternoon.
That's a wrap for this episode of Reading with Your Kids. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please consider sharing a link to the show with someone you love. Leave a 5-star review and, of course, subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. And we hope Reading with Your Kids is one of your favorite shows. We'd also love it if you could connect with us on social media, facebook.com/Reading with Your Kids, at Gently Magic on X, and at Reading with Your Kids on Instagram. Our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Reading with Your Kids. And our website is readingwithyourkids.com. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, please do visit readingwithyourkids.com and click on the Authors Click Here button up at the top of the page. You can find out how you can be a guest here on the show. Being a guest is fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of kid book fans all over the world about your fantastic children's book. It also lets you know about our Certified Great Read program. All of Ruth's Power of books have earned the Certified Great Read status. It's a great way to let families know that your book is worthy of being considered to be part of their family library. Lots and lots of authors have their books up on our Certified Great Read Wall of Fame. We would love to add your book to that Wall of Fame as well. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our amazing guest, Ruth Maille. Please be sure to check out The Power of Encouragement, Turning I Can't into I Can. Also want to thank Janet Lawler. Please be sure to check out Who's Hiding Under the Sea. I want to thank my amazing team, Chris Gardy, Jackson Socolero. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support, all the love, all the encouragement she gives me. Most of all, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to encourage, empower, and let your kids know how very, very important they are to you. And you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.